You know those moments when you get some piece of news that just floors you. Maybe you get arrested or fired from your job or some other catastrophe hits, and you just think, that's it, my life is completely ruined. It feels so final, so devastating. But what if that single terrible moment isn't the end of the story? What if it's just the beginning of a different one?
It's a totally natural reaction, right? To feel like you are the unluckiest person on the planet, that this is officially the worst day of your life. But what if that gut reaction, that immediate judgment, is actually missing a much, much bigger picture?
Whoa, strong words, huh? Sophomoric. The idea here is that seeing a bad event as only bad is actually a pretty unsophisticated way to look at life. So, what's the more sophisticated view? Well, the key to it lies in this really simple but brilliant story from ancient China. Let's dive into this old Chinese parable. It's about a wise man named Mr. Chan, and even though it's an ancient story, it has this profound lesson about how we think about good luck and bad luck. See, this parable does more than just tell a story. It really challenges our most basic ideas about luck. It kind of forces you to ask, can we ever really, truly know if something is good or bad in the exact moment that it happens? So, the story kicks off with what seems like a purely amazing event. A poor family has saved up for years to buy their son the most incredible horse for his birthday. The whole village is celebrating with him. It's just a day of pure, unfiltered joy. But there's one person who isn't celebrating, the wise Mr. Chan. He's just standing there quietly. A villager goes up to him and says, "Hey, isn't this wonderful?" And Mr. Chan just gives this simple, kind of cryptic reply, "We shall see." And sure enough, just a few days later, disaster. The young man gets thrown from that magnificent horse and breaks his leg so badly that everyone's worried he'll never walk right again. What looked like this huge blessing has suddenly turned into a terrible curse. Now the villagers are all crying and praying for the boy, but again, Mr. Chan is just calm, totally untroubled. When they ask him why he isn't upset about this clearly horrible thing, he gives the exact same answer, "We shall see." A few weeks go by, and then the emperor declares war. Soldiers come through the village, forcing every single able-bodied young man to join the army. You can just imagine the scene. Families being torn apart, saying goodbye to their sons who are being sent off to a brutal war. But what about the young man with the broken leg? Well, he gets spared. His injury, the thing that seemed like a total catastrophe, now means he gets to stay home safe. All of a sudden, that bad thing doesn't look so bad anymore, does it? A year passes, and the worst possible news comes back. Every single man who was sent to war from the village has been killed. The young man, whose leg is now healed, is the only survivor of his entire generation. And because of that, he's made the new village chief. A broken leg literally saved his life and made him a leader, a complete 180. So, at the big ceremony to make him chief, everyone looks over at Mr. Chan, expecting him to finally crack a smile and celebrate. But he just stands there, expressionless, and says one last time, "We shall see." And that's the point. The story never really ends. Even this amazing good fortune isn't the final word. Okay, so here's the big lesson, right? Life is this long chain of events, and we have absolutely no idea what any single link in that chain really means in the moment. You can see the whole pattern laid out. This seemingly good event, getting the horse, leads directly to a bad one, breaking his leg. Then, that bad event turns into a life-saving good one, keeping him out of the war. And that leads to another good event, becoming chief. But Mr. Chan's wisdom reminds us with that little question mark at the end, the story isn't over, you just have to wait and see. All right, so that's a cool story, but how does it actually apply to us, here in the real world? Let's check out a couple of examples that are just as powerful. Think about something like getting a DUI. The immediate thought is, my life is over. It's a catastrophe, right? All you can think about is the shame, the cost, the regret. But there's another way to look at it. What if getting pulled over that night prevented you from driving just one more mile and causing a fatal crash? What if that terrible ending was actually the wake-up call you needed to save your own life or someone else's? Or get this is a true story. There's a young guy who is furious he's been court-ordered into rehab. He feels trapped. Meanwhile, his friends on the outside are texting him, bragging about some awesome new heroin they just scored. He's sitting there just feeling like he's missing out on everything. But the very next day, he finds out his friend is dead, an overdose. And his first thought is, I would have been with them. I'd be dead too. The place he thought was a prison was actually what saved his life. This whole idea, this powerful concept, actually has a name. And once you understand it, it can completely change how you look at the tough times in your life. It's called inverted suffering. It's this simple but really profound idea that your current struggle, the thing that feels so awful right now, might actually be protecting you, preventing a much, much worse kind of suffering that you can't even see yet. And this brings us right back to where we started. It's about developing that more sophisticated view of life. It means training yourself to have the patience to not immediately slap a label of good or bad on everything that happens. This quote really just nails it. Real wisdom isn't about having all the answers right away. It's about being able to stand back, take a breath, and just let time do its thing, trusting that the bigger picture will eventually reveal itself. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. That thing you're dealing with right now, the struggle that feels like the end of the world, what unseen, even bigger catastrophe might it actually be protecting you from? As Mr. Catan would say, we shall see.